Hey everybody, it's Katie Murray. I apologize for the crazy interruption with our internet connection. However, I am back with a video and I'm hoping that this will help you better understand contouring, answer a few of your questions, and hopefully give you a little bit more of a confidence boost so you can get out there and attempt this on your own. Okay, so as I mentioned previously, but I'll restate it here again for its importance, is I choose to use LimeLight by Alcone's waterproof concealer. I use concealer number 6 to do all of my contouring. Currently, I am between a Shinto 1 and a Shinto 2 for my botanical foundation, also by LimeLight. So I like to have a rich, deep contour, and I feel like it's much more dramatic with concealer number 6. It is very dark, and I'll actually show that to you here so you can see it. So this is the concealer number 6. This is 0. And this is 6. 0 I use to highlight, and we might get into that a little bit too. But for the purposes of contouring, this is going to be the pigment that I use. Okay? Alright, so I have already prepped my skin, and I've done so with our First Base Primer Spray, and topped that off with my Botanical Foundation in Shinto 1, and I tapped in just a tad of Shinto 2 to give me a little bit more of an actual, the actual pigment of my skin, so you can see that. But so there's already a little bit of richness to my foundation, and you can see it's very smooth thanks to the primer spray. Now, when it comes to contouring, there are different reasons to do it. Number one, basically, we have natural shadows that are hitting our face all the time. And that's what contouring is, basically. It's creating shadows or depth. Now, you can kind of tell right here, especially when I smile a little, that there is a natural contour or shadowing right here below my cheekbone. So it's already there. So that's kind of the thought. When you're looking at me straight forward, you can see with the light hitting that there's a little bit of a shadow right here on the side of the bridge of my nose. So that's just naturally where shadow forms. And that's what contouring is. Contouring is an opportunity to push back something that is maybe a little bit too obvious. So sometimes it's good to cover up some different places. I'll give you a hint. Right here, a double chin action happens quite frequently. So one of the tricks that I use is contouring around my chin and lower jawline so that I can kind of give the illusion of shadow, and it narrows and lengthens my face just a little bit. So we'll show that too. Now, that's totally different from highlighting, which highlighting is something that you want to bring out. You want to make more pronounced and more obvious. So you want to be careful where you highlight as opposed to where you contour. All right, so two different ways that you can go in and apply your contour. I like my trusty fingers just because I feel like I have more control, and I like to use a lot because I'm doing something a little more dramatic. Now, you can use a concealer brush. I recommend LimeLights. They're coming back this month, so keep your eyes peeled for those. These brushes are phenomenal, but I use the concealer brush when I want something a little more precise and straight, when I'm really going to etch out something and give it very pronounced definition. I will go in and be very precise with this. Okay, so I'm going to use my fingers because that's what I do, and I'm gonna warm up the concealer, and I do that simply by rubbing the concealer. Okay, rub it, warm it up because it's wax based as well. All right, and you can see I've got a pretty good bit on my finger, but you can't really tell by looking at my palette. Okay, so I'm going to follow the natural contouring line of my face, right below my my cheekbone. And I like to tell you to use, take your brush, find that top point of your ear, and follow it down to the corner of your mouth. And that's a really good line for you right there. And it is right below my cheekbone. So I literally start right there in my hairline and come down. Now, I will tell you, I try not to come down or further into my face than the outside corner of my eye, simply because I don't want my face to look dirty. But as you can see, that's a lot. It looks like war paint. You're probably thinking, what are you doing? But I really want a dramatic contour. And I'll do the same thing on this side. You can see right there. I'm going to follow that same line. and get it in there really good. Okay. So that's how I get ready for my to contour my cheeks. And we're going to blend this out. It's not going to stay there. We're going to, you know, buff it out a little bit and give it a little bit more of a smooth, even texture. But to get started, so you can see where the lines are, that's them right there. All right, another place, like I mentioned before, the side of your nose. This is a really good opportunity to use your concealer brush because you don't want to get just tons of concealer dark contour on your nose. So you can be much more precise and go right down the side of your nose with it. Now, again, I know it looks like a lot, but I'm going for something a little more dramatic than normal. You don't have to use this much on a day-to-day basis, but I do like to use it a great deal if I want something very pronounced. Now, I like, because my nose is long and pointed, I'm going to just kind of tap the end of my nose too, like right underneath, because you can see I've got a pretty pronounced point. But looking head on and for pictures and things like that, I don't really like it to stand out. So I just kind of cover it up a little bit by giving the illusion that my nose is a little bit shorter than it actually is. I'm going to look like I'm marked on for surgery or something. Okay, back to my fingers, because I'm going to go where the sun hits my face and usually gives me a little bit of a tan. And I'm not going to go all the way into my temple and just pack it in right there, because that's really not a natural look. But I am going to get into my hairline a little bit and kind of rub that in. And again, right here on this side too. And I just follow my hairline. Again, it just makes it look like, you know, where I would naturally get a little bit of sunshine and would tan without makeup. So my skin would naturally be darker right along that line. Okay, so 3 quick and easy ways to do that. Now, to get rid of my double chin problem area, can you see it right there? I'm actually showing this to you. Gracious. Okay, so I'm going to go just along my jawline, and I am going to get rid of the double chin action that I got going on here. And I use my finger again just because I have a little bit more control and I can apply more liberally. Whereas, you know, and it kind of smooths out a little bit better for me because my hands are already warm, as opposed to the brush isn't really warm. And having this concealer warmed up, it just works much better to me. Okay, and I go ahead and I follow my chin as well. And I'm going to go back in and blend all of this down, so no worries, okay? Another trick that I do to kind of elongate my face and to make everything kind of flow into my neck and it not look like I'm all just choppy is I actually come from right here in my neck. I don't know if you can really see, but there's kind of like this natural line right here, and I like to add just a hint of contour along my neck. Again, it starts to narrow everything out for me, and I have a very round face, so I give the illusion that my face shape is a little different. It allows me to work with different eyeshadow techniques and shapes too, believe it or not. And that's a totally different tutorial. But I'm going to come in and just dab a little bit of this away. Okay. Now, another thing that you can do when you get ready to blend everything out a little bit is to use the pointed end of your blender full. Now, this to me just kind of helps pack it in. I'm not going to rub it and I'm not going to swirl it because I don't want to take the contour off. I just want to push it in to my foundation. And especially on your nose. I would suggest this when you're doing your application for your foundation as well, because especially in your nose, it can just very easily wipe off. As you can see, I'm just patting it in, and you can see it's already blending out. I'm literally pressing it into my foundation. See? Doesn't look nearly as bad as this. My Indian war paint over here. Okay. And all along the chin. Trying to get it to where you guys can see. Okay. Now, that is pretty pronounced. I mean, clearly I've done something, right? It looks very different from the way my face looked when I first started. Okay, I'm just gonna go. This side has my foundation still, so I'm gonna kind of pat that out a little bit. Now, one of the things that I do to really, really make a statement is add the highlight. Again, highlight is what you want to do when you are ready to pull something out and really make it pop, and that's the part of your face that you want people to notice. So I use this trick for my eyes too, because I do have dark circles under my eyes, and as a mom, I don't always sleep well, so sometimes I end up with bags under my eyes even, and so I have a lazy eye, so lifting it is always good. Any trick to do that. I use my finger again in the concealer. I use concealer 0 to highlight. I'm going to go ahead and do this step, even though that's not the purpose of this video, so that you can see the difference. I mean, just a little tap of that. Look how much payoff I got just from tapping my finger. And I'm going to go ahead and apply a little bit of the 0 onto my eyelid too, because it will neutralize my eye to do eyeshadow, which I'm going to do for another video. Okay. Now, for the highlight, I come down in a triangle motion. I go all the way into my temple because I do have large eyes, but I really want to draw them up a little bit. Look at the difference. Okay, and that's just me with doing my finger. I'm gonna have to leave that there for just a second, just so you can appreciate the work of highlight. Okay, I put highlight on my chin too, because light's gonna hit that. That's where it naturally hits. A little on my Cupid's bow. And don't worry if you get it on your lip, it's not a big deal. Don't go up and down, okay, and really make it look crazy. Just right over your lip is fine. Kind of highlights it a little bit. Again, highlighting. Okay. You can also use a concealer brush to do this as well. Any application can be used with a brush. I prefer my fingers simply because I can do it a little more liberally. Now, I do a little triangle shape right on my forehead, right in between my eyes. And a little trick. Do you see these circles? These wrinkles? These my worry wrinkles right here. I am actually gonna highlight those. And you're probably thinking, why are you doing that? Because I want to pull that out. I don't want that shadow. I don't want that shadow to be there, because what happens? Shadows sink things in. They draw it back. So it makes my wrinkles more pronounced. So I'm going to cover up with a little bit of that highlight and draw that skin tone, or that, well, it's actually going to be the concealer tone now, but draw that out. And so it actually is camouflaging for me some of those wrinkles, because, you know, in pictures they don't show up as pronounced as they would if I just left them alone, because again, the dark makes a shadow and it's very obvious. Okay, so now that you've seen how my eyes are lifted there, I'm just going to tap on a little bit on this side. I'm getting right underneath that in a triangle motion. And I'm going to go ahead and neutralize this for shadows later. You can see when I do my face that my wrinkles come up, but we're filling that in and we're going to camouflage that a bit. Just a little more brown of the 6 can give me a little, go back. Cover that a little bit. Okay. See how very obvious that is? Oh, that's what I didn't do. Right down the middle. Now remember, I did a little bit of the brown on the bottom because I don't want my long nose to look so pronounced or so long. But very gently on your nose, because you don't want to wipe it off. Your nose is such a easy place to just dabs or swipe and remove everything. So unless you have very porous skin. Okay. One more thing I want to do, because I do want to make this a little bit more of a pop. I'm going to add just a tad of highlight right here. And really maybe edge it out a little more. Okay. And you can always go back and add more. If you want more depth, go add some more. It's okay. It layers really well and blends out really well. Okay. Okay. Now, I have placed this highlight and contour everywhere I wanted, and we're going to focus mainly on this contour because that's the part that people have a lot of questions about. Highlighting is one thing. It's easy to make things, you know, show up and pop, but how do you create that definition? So one huge suggestion that I have is that you go in and you set all of your hard work, all of your contour and highlight with the concealer and your foundation with a pressed powder of some sort, so some type of setting powder. I am going to use LimeLight's perfectly pressed powder, and I'm actually going to use my Blenderful. I'm going to use the flat end of my Blenderful and go into our pressed powder, and you'll see me dig a little bit more simply because it's on the edges now, but typically you just tap a little bit. But I mean, we're going to just tap this on. You can go right over your contour because it's translucent. It is not going to change the color one bit. But I don't want all of my hard work to disappear. You can use a fluffy brush, a powder brush of some sort, if you'd prefer. I do that sometimes. But when I've got a lot of, when I've done a lot of work with contouring and highlighting, I have a tendency to get more accomplished as far as powder is concerned using my Blenderful. And I'm going to use the pointed end, and I'm going to get my eye area really good. I crease really bad on my lids. It's just genetics. I have a hooded eye and oilier lids. So, okay. I haven't lost any of my contour, haven't lost any of my highlight, I've just set it. Now, I'm going to go back and enhance my contour with bronzer. Especially during the summertime, it just gives a really pretty glow, and the bronzer I'm going to use is LimeLight's Perfect Bronzer. It has a little bit of a shimmer to it, so it gives a really, really pretty finish. Now, I am doing this after I do the pressed powder because my bronzer is going to apply much more evenly on top of a powder. So me covering my entire face with the setting powder is going to make my application of additional powders on top of it much smoother. So I recommend that very highly for anyone who is using any form of liquid foundation, or really any foundation at all. If you're using a powder, then to set everything, do so before you do your bronzers and blushes, even your eyeshadows. Okay, I'm using a tapered blush brush really, and I'm just applying a little bit of our Perfect Bronzer to the tip of it. And I'm going to concentrate the tip of that into that contour area. And I'm just going to brush it all the way into my hairline. I'm going to go ahead and follow my jawline with that as well, and even onto my neck where I contoured. And just so you know, if you don't have the desire to do a full contour, you can still get a natural contour just by utilizing bronzer in those same areas. So once you've done your foundation and set it with the powder, instead of using the concealers to do, that contour highlighting technique, you can just use the bronzer to give you a natural contour. Okay. And there are no rules as to how much you have to apply. It's whatever makes you feel happy. And I love bronzer. So, lots of bronzer it is. Okay? And there you have it. Okay? So we've contoured with our concealers from LimeLight, the waterproof concealers. I contoured with number 6. I highlighted with 0. Don't forget about your perfectly pressed powder for your setting powder. LimeLight is translucent, so it doesn't take away any of the color or pigment that came from there's Anna, that came from all of your contouring and your foundation work that you've done. And don't forget that doing that setting powder on top gives you a really great application opportunity for your bronzers and blushes afterwards. I'm going to finish this look by sealing it with our 10 Years Younger spray. This is going to hold this in place even more so than the translucent powder, but it's also going to give me just a little bit more glow. I'm going to let that get really dry. There you go. A little contour technique the way that I do it. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions at all, shoot some in the comments below this video. I will do my best to answer all of those, and don't forget you can always message me or text me and call me, and I can schedule a one-on-one with you to show you what technique works best for your face shape. Okay? Bye. Say bye, Hannah. Bye. Thanks, guys. Bye.